Okay, hello guys. So we're gonna do something a little different here for Vinland Saga, my review of episode 3. This is gonna be slightly more interactive. I'm okay with this. I have the luxury of using Netflix for this, piece of using the episodes. I mean, if anything, like if I could say one good thing about Netflix is I don't have to like search my way through YouTube finding like numerous amounts of clips that and edit the video and record it and then compile it together, and then some company from fucking Japan just decides to nuke me from afar. They wanted revenge on my channel from the past. Okay, but this will be slightly more interactive. We're gonna get into this episode. As an episode, it's just as slow as I thought it was gonna be. And that's okay. But there's two really main things that come out from this episode. In particular, we're gonna look at our new character who just got introduced. He will be important later in this arc. He's not really a main character. He's a side character because he only appears inside this arc, and we haven't seen him since here in this place. So, and that is Snake. Yes, and then the second thing we're gonna go through is a little bit of Thorfinn's characterization, and I've been trying to like see what like anime only watchers have been thinking about this new arc, and I can't really find what people are thinking about. I've been really trying to like look. I've seen all the videos I've seen have been pretty lackluster in what I would say about what I would like people to express how they're feeling about the arc. It's not generally well thought out, but that's all right, I guess. We're only on episode 3. I assume those reviews will be coming out later. Those like more high priority views, those people with like thousands of subs or whatever, like getting really like into Vinland Saga, just doing what they do and what they think about the show and what they think about this arc. But that's okay. So leaving from where we last left off on episode 2, we're gonna get into the episode now. We go back to the master son here. I'm sorry, I still forget his name. I actually forgot like how whiny he was. He is a let me mute this just so I don't get another strike. He is a little bitch. Like just the whiniest little bitch you could ever meet, right? I completely forgot just how annoying he was, like in totality, especially in most of his scenes. That's okay though, because I also remember this. Because I forgot about that, I also remember he's not like this later on. He does change throughout the arc, just like a lot of other people do, and that's all right. But for now, as we're really just like getting to know about like the master's son's arrogancy. I would call it his. He's frustrated. He's jaded. He's literally like the most. He's spoiled without beyond belief, right? So his father is a leader of this village. He's in control of all these slaves, all these bodyguards here on this island, this specific island here, and the son here doesn't want to be here, even though he has all this freedom to do really whatever he wants, honestly, and control whatever he wants. His goal is to be a man, essentially, be a real Viking. He believes that no one understands anything about him. These are our other like side characters here, Fox and Badger. Fox is on the left, Badger's on the right, if you could see this. Fox, these characters aren't as essential as Snake is. All of Snake's band, these are all his like, I would say compatriots or Nakama. They're all his Nakama. We can't say Nakama. They're not really friends. They're all mercenaries essentially. But these are his like, yeah. He hires them to like help him do other stuff. Now they're not particularly important inside the arc, but they are important for this episode specifically because they have their own agency as well as like other characters. And what they do is they try to egg on the master's son to like do things that he's not really prepared to do, specifically kill people. Now these two, they're mercenaries, so they believe the only way to become a man is to like kill people. This is where we're getting like deep into like the philosophy of like what it means to be a warrior essentially. Obviously the kid has no idea what any of that actually entails. He's very drunk in this scene too, and Fox and Badger are really like egging him on, trying to help him, but they're just doing it in a way that's not really actually helpful in the long term to the master son here. This will take a turn in later events. For I don't want to spoil it. All these reviews, I don't want to spoil like heavy details about what's going to happen for like the last event of this arc, because it is there's a lot. There's a lot to go over when that happens, and it's gonna all tailor back. Everything's connected, right? Very specifically to all these scenes. They're all gonna come back one way or another. It's all interconnected. It's really smooth, and the way they're doing it right now in these first 3 episodes are really smooth. It's slow, pacing slow. I can admit it's maybe a little bit too slow. I'd like it to be a little slightly faster, very slightly. But I'm enjoying the world building that we're getting with these new characters. So I hope you are too. Anyway, and that's the whole deal with like this situation. Fox and Badger are like, oh, you gotta kill someone. Who do we kill? Slaves, obviously. Who else would we kill? They have that right, technically, but also they technically don't. And it's actually brought up by the Master's son when he gets scared about actually killing people, like seriously, when the opportunity arises here. And we get, and this is the more before well, we get before we get to this, we get just give me a second to recall what happened. Okay, no, this all makes sense. So this is the culmination of the next morning when Fox and Badger are like, all right, let's get our band of merry men together. We'll help the Master's son out, maybe gain favor with the Master if we like do what the son wants. It's explicitly explained even by the Master son that what they're doing is not technically allowed because the bodyguards are taking their own initiative to just literally kill the Master slaves. Now the son doesn't own Thorfinn and Einar, his dad does. So obviously, if the Master finds out about Thorfinn and Einar dying to his son's hands, he'd be like, "What the fuck? You just kill my property?" This is like a totally bad situation, obviously, that Thorfinn and Einar are in. Fox and Badger and his crew are like totally serious about killing them, very very seriously. Like this is a bad situation. Thorfinn in particular doesn't give a shit. This is where we get more into like what Thorfinn's perspective about his world is in. Einar, though, is not taking really any of this shit. He's very scared and afraid. He's like, no, I'm going to protect what I can protect. This is where we get the scene where the Master's son is like, what do you, I don't want to kill these people. He's very scared. He's scared of his dad. Like, I can't kill these. They're my father's slaves. I can't do this. I'll get in trouble, which is correct. But, you know, there's a lot of, like, obviously these mercenaries are bodyguards. Like, they don't give a shit. They have their own philosophy about, like, death in itself and what it means to be a warrior. And they're trying to teach the Master's son about, like, what that stuff means. Obviously, this all goes nowhere. Don't worry, none of our characters die. We do get a good scene where Einar is just like literally jumps the Master's son and like stops him from killing anyone. All throughout this, everyone's like, kill him, kill him, kill him, Master. Einar's very strong. You know, even though he's not a fighter, he's not. Einar is not a fighter. He's still very like heavily built. He's built like a slave. All right. He's got big log cutting, muscles on him, right? And he's gonna do whatever it takes to stop this. And he tells Thorfinn to run. Obviously, this won't work. This is where we get into like Thorfinn's like real. So we're not gonna like super deep into him yet, but we're starting to like understand the change within him. And you can see here on his face, no emotion at all. Thorfinn is just out of it. He's not unaware of like what's happening here. He even suggests, it's almost like this is a nuisance to him, what's happening. Like, oh, we have work to do. Why are we here right now doing this? Can we just stop? Listen, if we can go back to work, if you can let Einar go back to work, just kill me. I don't care. That's literally what he says. And everyone's so like freaked out by like what Thorfinn is like whoa. But they're like mercenaries are like super cocky, and it's like an anime Japanese thing where all the bad guys are like super cocky. Like, really? I'm gonna do that? Stuff like that. Here's where we actually get introduced to Snake. So this is Snake. Now on the onset, throughout this episode, we understand that Snake is very lazy. He's a lazy man. He has the right to be lazy. Okay. Power level wise, even though Snake is very lazy when it comes like down to the wire, and we're gonna see it later in the arc, he's very dependable. As like a soldier, as a warrior, as a veteran, he's very dependable at what he does. He has a right to like be lazy from time to time and just like do what he wants. He is the leader of the bodyguards that are currently residing over this island. They're also called guests. They're being hired by the master again. So again, I would say he's a right to be lazy. He is a veteran. Now, power level wise, if you could maybe possibly compare him to Askeladd, but I wouldn't go as far as to say he's as powerful as Askeladd. So even though we're like being introduced to Askeladd at his most pivotal point in the story in season one, he's old. Like he's 50 years old in that story. He's not at his prime. Snake is at his prime, but he's maybe teetering on the edge of like Askeladd's power. And Askeladd's like not the strongest. He's just really Askeladd's just like incredibly smart and very clever. He knows like how to do things. Snake is like near that level. But he's not maybe as powerful, but he is a veteran. He's been like being a warrior for a long time, almost like Thorfinn. Except Thorfinn's just like way more like OD. You can't like compare to Thorfinn or Thorkel. Like they're monsters, right? He's not like a complete monster, but he still has tons of experience. And, we'll get to know his deal very later on. We get to see like a little bit about it. At the end of this episode. But if we like go back into it, this is where like we're getting to like very deep and heavy into Thorfinn's like mindset about like what it is. And you can see that this is Fox here. He's like almost testing Thorfinn in a way, cutting him like almost like a cut of 1,000. What's it called? The Ling Shi, I believe. Something like Death of 1,000 Cuts thing. Not nearly on that. I think that's it. Yes, Death of 1,000 Cuts. Ling Shi. Originated in Japan, in China. Sorry, not Japan. Actually, common misconception. Common. But Fox here is really just like trying to test Thorfinn's resolve. Thorfinn at this point is very resolved. Like, let Einar go. You're allowed to kill me. I'm okay with dying. It's almost like, and this is like we're getting deep into the philosophy of like what is death. How do warriors deal in death? This is our job. We take this stuff very seriously. They think Thorfinn's just, one of those hack plebs that are gonna, shit their pants in fear to, coming across the sword. But obviously, they don't know anything about Thorfinn's past. None of these guys know anything about Thorfinn, what he's been through. They don't know how powerful he is. And Thorfinn is just very, very nonchalant. Like, he doesn't care. And this is, I don't want to spoil much of everything because it doesn't come to like full fruition in this episode, and it's not going to for a little bit, as far as I can tell, for the state of this series. At least the next 2 or 3 episodes, honestly. Because I actually do know now that it is 24 episodes for the entire season 2, just like season 1. So they're gonna take their time with this. Well, I'm okay with that. We're getting lots of good world building and good dialogue. Well, finding out lots of good characterization between people. So Fox just like starts cutting them up. This is when Snake comes in. He is their leader. They have them by the balls, basically. And everybody gets scared. Thorfinn doesn't even flinch, right, when he gets like cut up and shit. It's like crazy just how much he just doesn't give a shit. It's nuts, and no one apparently, because all these fucking all the warriors, like including Fox, are so. Japan does this a lot in anime, where all your main bad guys are cocky and don't understand the real situation or it's happening. So it just seems like they're idiots, basically, or morons in comparison to like what we know. In their situation, it's maybe a little different than that. We can extrapolate or try to extrapolate like what these people are thinking and doing in this situation and how they handling the situations. But if any, it all culminates in a scene where basically they don't really care. They're prepared to kill Thorfinn, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. But Snake himself, they don't realize that this man is like different. But Snake himself does. Like, he doesn't. Thorfinn doesn't flinch for a second when he gets his ear chopped off. Let's see if we can get this scene here. It just happens instantaneously. Thorfinn doesn't care. It's so fast. It's crazy how fast it is. Not a fucking blink. And this is a great scene, by the way. And if you watch the scene, you watch it in its entirety. I don't want to like show all of it here because again, I don't want to get a strike. If you watch it in its entirety, you can like feel the apathy emitting from Thorfinn. It's like, and if Thorfinn did care, Fox would be dead, and we all know it. The audience does. Now, Snake would know that because during this, he's been here in this whole scene watching this, and finally he comes up. He's like, "All right, bam, I gotta hit you. What you're doing here is wrong, of course." Now, this is the end of the episode, and this is our introduction to Snake. So, as an episode in totality, this is a good introduction to Snake and what's he about. He's a bit lazy, but he wants to keep his, subordinates in line. Obviously, what his subordinates are doing are going to be an offense to the master because he's a master slave. He doesn't know the whole situation because he wasn't there, but he knows like something's amiss. Obviously, something's like really wrong here. So he stops them. Now, don't get it wrong. He doesn't really care about Thorfinn or Einar. They're still like slaves to him, and this is just normal for people of their age. Like, I don't really care about these slaves. I care about what the master thinks, because he's the one paying us. What's the master gonna think when we bring back these slaves and they're all roughed up and fucked up? How are they gonna work, right? All that makes more sense than like Snake actually caring about these people, but we'll get more into that later when Snake is more prominent in the story. Once everything starts popping off, it's gonna take a long time. Again, just sit and relax. As far as animation goes for this episode, very standard, very nothing really to talk about. Honestly, it's been the same for the past three. There were some few good like background scenes or scenery. This is the opening. The opening is really good. There's a lot of like good scenery scenes, like maybe this. This is like this background. It's very nice. All the colors, this dramatic view, the music playing in this scene, and some other scenes. Overall, the animation is. I expected this though. I said this in the last review as well. The animation is not going to take like a good turn for a while until the action starts. I believe that wholeheartedly. And if it doesn't, I will eat my words. I will be very disappointed if the animation doesn't grow into this new scope of dynamic animated scenes where people are interacting with each other. I'll be very upset. That would make me. I would be so mad, honestly. And this is being done by Mappa, so I would expect I think they're just saving their budget, honestly. So when it happens, we'll get to it. And if I'm wrong, I'll eat my ass about it. All right, I might be. Who knows? We haven't gone there yet, but that's all right. So generally, I like this episode. We're getting introduced more. So we're going to take time to get introduced to more characters even later on after this. There's one more other character in particular. I'll just say it. It's the Master's first son. He's going to be very prominent in this arc. And a few other characters are going to come back that we all know and love. And we're going to get to see what their new perspective on life is, basically. So there's a lot of good dialogue. Characterization in this episode. It's an alright episode. Maybe not as best as the last episode, but we're really starting to try and get to understand our new characters here. So it's taking its time. Pacing's a little slow, but I still like it. I obviously know it's coming. If you're an anime only watcher, I reckon just keep watching, keep waiting, be patient. This is a really good arc. I feel like there might be some people that don't like this arc for some reason. Some people are so heavy about action all the time, non-stop. It's can we just take a break and really like sit down and like listen to like what these characters believe and what's happening, in the story and the world building around everyone. I like that aspect of like shows and anime. As long as it's done generally well, it's consistent and makes sense. I like that. And Vinland Saga is very consistent, and this anime has been very consistent too as well. Not the best, not the best, but consistent. Consistency is important. Okay, I think I'm done rambling about this episode. Hope you guys like it. I can't wait for the next one. Hope you guys are too. Tell me what you guys think. And, alright, guys. You have a nice day. See ya.